You slide a metal rod out from a drainage grate, and a crow watching from a wire registers your reach with an attention that is cold, precise, and not at all bird-like. This is the moment most people misunderstand completely. The crow is not just looking at you in the hopeful way a pigeon does, hoping for a dropped fry. This is something else, a measured, deliberate surveillance. And when you fail, when you cannot figure out how to pull the wriggling grub from the crevice you just uncovered, that crow will remember, not just the location, not just your failure, it will factor your incompetence into tomorrow's decisions. In 2014, a team of researchers at the University of Cambridge and the University of Auckland published a report in PLOS One that made a claim many found hard to accept. They said that the new Caledonian crow, a glossy black bird weighing less than your phone, had a reasoning ability comparable to a 7-year-old human child, not on instinct, controlled, measured under published conditions. 7 years old is the age a child begins to grasp cause and effect the same way you do. A child can look at a half-empty glass and understand that dropping a stone will raise the water level. Most 5-year-olds cannot. Crows can. The experiment was not a one-off. It has been replicated. The water displacement test used clear tubes, sinking objects, and a reward that depended on understanding that volume does not disappear. Human children under 5 consistently fail. Crows from the island of New Caledonia solved it. Now here is where it gets strange. The researchers did not train them. The birds arrived at the solution spontaneously, as though they had been thinking about the logic of containers and fluids before the tube ever appeared. This is the kind of discovery that rewires how you see a creature. If that landed in your chest the way it landed in mine, subscribe to this investigation. There are more layers beneath this one, and each one dismantles something you thought you knew. In the comments, tell me the one word that best describes your reaction to a bird that solves physics problems it was never taught. Unsettled, fascinated, something else entirely. I want to see it. It is easy to dismiss this as a fluke built on hunger or repetition, but the neural evidence tells a different story. In 2013, neuroscientists at the University of Tübingen recorded the brain activity of crows making strategic choices. They found decision-related neural firing in the pallium, the avian equivalent of the cortex. The same circuits that light up in your brain when you weigh a trade-off, do I take the sure $20 or gamble for 50, light up in a crow when it considers a tool. The crow chooses, deliberates, then acts. If you have ever watched a bird peck at a window and assumed its brain is a simple switchboard of reflexes, you are not alone. That assumption is built into the language we use. Bird brain, pea brain. It is the insult of choice for small-minded thinking, but the insult is backward. The bird brain is not a simpler version of yours. It is a different architecture entirely, one that achieves the same computational power in a fraction of the space. The Cal Academy of Sciences reports that in certain self-control tasks, crows and jackdaws performed at 97%. That is within measurement error of apes. Here is the part nobody talks about when they mention the 7-year-old comparison. It is not a compliment to the crow, it is a problem for you. Because a 7-year-old human has spent years immersed in culture, language, instruction, and parental guidance. A crow has none of that. It hatches in a nest of twigs, fed by a parent that does not speak, and within 4 months, it has cognitive skills that rival a child who has been in school for 2 years. BBC Earth reported that ravens, close cousins of crows, demonstrate full-blown cognitive capabilities by the age of 4 months. Tool use, social reasoning, planning for future needs. Your dog cannot do that at 4 months. You could not do that at 4 months. That alone should unsettle you, because it means intelligence is not a ladder with humans at the top. It is a spreading tree, and crows occupy a branch that runs parallel to yours, solving the same problems through a brain that is wired nothing like yours. A human cortex has 6 layers of neurons stacked like a cake. A bird pallium has a different structure, clustered and dense, with neurons packed tighter and connections that fire faster in small spaces. The efficiency is staggering, but the most humiliating detail for the human ego is the numerical one. Crows can count, not just distinguish between 1 and 2, which many animals do. They understand 0 as a quantity. Live Science reported that crows represent the number 0 as part of a sequential cognitive map, showing distance effects that mirror human number processing. When shown a blank card and asked to select it, they reliably chose the empty set before a card with a single dot, as though they understood that nothing is of value. They behaved as though the empty set belonged before 1. That is not instinct, that is abstraction. 0 is not a thing you can smell, hear, or see as an object. It is a concept invented by human mathematicians in the ancient world, and then independently by the Maya, and it took our species thousands of years to formalize. A crow reaches it without a classroom. That abstraction is not a fluke. It is a window into a mind that evolved in parallel to ours. If you want to keep exploring these parallel intelligences, subscribe to The Journey. The next discovery will challenge another assumption you hold. Drop a comment naming one concept you always assumed was uniquely human, but now you are not so sure. 0, language, self-awareness. What else might they possess? So why does this not feel true when you look at a crow hopping across a parking lot? The answer lies in the kind of intelligence you are comparing. Your brain was shaped by a different evolutionary pressure. You are optimized for social cooperation, language, and long-term planning across decades. The crow is optimized for immediate problem-solving in a world that will kill it if it fails a single day. A crow that cannot figure out how to retrieve food from a crevice by 2 in the afternoon does not get to try again tomorrow. It starves. You have never faced that pressure. You have never had to invent a tool in 10 minutes or die. Your brain conserves energy. The crow does not have the luxury. The water displacement test was not just a clever trick. It was the visible edge of a cognitive architecture that evolved in isolation from the primate line for 300 million years. 300 million years of separate evolution, and the solution to a problem of physics emerged in the crow brain the same way it emerged in yours. When you look at a crow, you are not looking at a lesser mind. You are looking at a computer built by a different engineer that arrived at the same answer through completely different components. That should make you uncomfortable, because if the architecture does not matter, and the size does not matter, and the number of neurons does not matter as long as they are packed densely enough, then the boundary between your intelligence and theirs is thinner than you ever imagined. The self-control test at Cal Academy is not an outlier, it is a pillar. The 97% score means that in a test of impulse control designed for apes, the crow matched the chimp. That is not a fluke. It is a systematic refutation of the hierarchy you were taught since childhood. You were told that humans are at the top, that our big brains made us special, that other animals operate on instinct and we operate on reason. The evidence suggests something more troubling. There is a species on this planet that can count, reason about physics, manufacture compound tools, delay gratification, recognize human faces, plan for future needs, and understand the concept of 0. And it does all of this in a skull the size of your thumb. If the crow is not at the top of the hierarchy with you, then the hierarchy is not a ladder. It is a circle. Think about that the next time you see a crow watching you from a telephone wire. It is not looking at you the way a deer looks at a car, frozen and uncomprehending. It is looking at you the way you look at another human at a bus stop, trying to predict your next move. It has already cataloged your face, noted whether you are carrying food, and decided whether you are a threat or an opportunity. It has run that calculation in under a second. And somewhere in its small, dense, alien brain, it has already reached a conclusion about you that you will never hear. The question is, will you ever manage to return the favor? That intelligence, parallel, dense, and ancient, does not stop at problem solving. It has a social dimension that should feel uncomfortably familiar. In 2008, a team led by John Marsleff at the University of Washington discovered that crows can recognize individual human faces. They captured and leg-banded a number of birds while wearing distinctive masks. The crows did not forget. Years later, researchers walking through campus wearing those same masks were dive-bombed and screamed at by birds they had never met personally. The aggression had been passed on to younger birds through social learning. Generations that never experienced the capture still recognized the enemy. This is not a simple conditioned reflex. It is a transgenerational memory of human cruelty. The crows that mobbed the mask had never seen the banding event. Their parents had taught them, and their children will teach the next cohort. You are interacting with a creature that archives your face across decades it does not live to see. The line between you and the crow collapses again. It collapses hardest in the mirror test. Most animals fail it. When you place a colored dot on an animal's forehead and show it a mirror, a creature with self-awareness will touch the dot on its own face, recognizing the reflection as itself. Crows do not pass this test cleanly, but magpies, their corvid relatives, do. The implication is that the self is not a uniquely human invention. Somewhere inside that small skull sits a sense of I, a distinction between the bird and the world. That may be the most uncomfortable truth of all. This is the point where the hierarchy dissolves entirely. If you have not yet subscribed, do it now, because the conclusion we are about to reach will either reshape how you move through the world or confirm what you already suspected. Leave a comment. Have you ever seen a bird behave as if it recognizes its own reflection? If yes, describe the moment. If no, what would it take for you to believe it? Because if a crow has a self, it has preferences, it holds grudges, it remembers generosity, and it judges you in the silent arithmetic of its ancient brain as either friend or threat, with a verdict that lasts longer than your visit. You have been weighed, you have been watched, and the hierarchy you believed in your entire life was never a ladder at all.